Welcome to the Nut Gallery Review. We bring you the news on the media that shapes your world.
Welcome to episode 188. I'm Jason Schulte.
I'm Sean McFadden.
And I'm Mike Anstedt.
Well, my only real big, it was kind of a quiet news month around the movie industry. So the one news piece I did have is that Warner Brothers Studios is shifting DC League of Super Pets and Black Adam back. The ramifications of that is that it'll also delay the release of The Flash and Aquaman and The Lost Kingdom. It's all due to just some COVID delays and getting production done on these films. So for those Warner Brothers DC fans, you're going to have to just be patient. The good news is that means we're going to have some good things coming for the foreseeable future.
It's okay. I'll just watch the Batman again and again and again.
I take it you have positive feelings on it.
Highly.
So go ahead.
Yeah, well, lay us on us, man.
Without ruining it, of course.
Yeah. The Batman was brilliant. I think it's the best live action Batman, even higher than The Dark Knight. Yeah, I know. High praise. So, and better than Adam West. I know you were wondering, Sean.
That was right there on me.
But yeah, it brings Batman to his roots as the world's greatest detective in a brooding and awesome way. So I absolutely loved it.
So my son today was scrolling through Hulu and he goes, "Was this the first Batman?" And it's the Michael Keaton Batman. And I said, for all practical reasons, yes.
That is correct.
Mostly I was just as far as you're concerned, yes, it is.
I didn't want to try to explain that this other movie existed that I didn't think he needed or would care to watch.
Just want to explain Batman the movie.
With shark repellent, apparently.
Oh man.
Oh, I can laugh now because it's past and I'm not watching it.
Well, the really nice thing is about this is just going to roll right into the movie classic because why not?
Oh, there you go.
It's a good segue.
So Mike,
have any of you seen the Batman before we?
I have not seen it yet.
You have not? Okay.
I'll be 100% honest. From the trailers that they were putting out, I didn't want to.
Trust me, you want to see it. It's, in my opinion, the best Batman movie to be made. Live action. Live action.
Wow. High praise. High praise.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that does bring us to the movie classic, which was my choice. And listeners, if you know our rules, we basically just go by like a 10-year gap of release. And so we've covered the first two of this trilogy, and hitting 10 years this year is The Dark Knight Rises. So the third Batman movie in the Christopher Nolan trilogy obviously stars Christian Bale. Tom Hardy is Bane, and basically, spoiler alert, Batman's in it. And whoa. He's basically taken an 8-year hiatus since the death of Harvey Dent, and him as Batman taking the fall of said murder rather. And he comes back as he needs to rise from where he was. And
I see what you did there.
And basically has to take on this new threat in Tom Hardy's Bane. And Bane is basically trying to take over Gotham. There's some through lines and plot lines that go all the way back to Batman Begins with Bane and his character and stuff like that. So yeah, Catwoman's in it, played by Anne Hathaway. Ernest Hemingway? No. Anne Hathaway and Talia al Ghul is played. Who's that actress? I forget. I can look it up.
Yeah.
But regardless, yeah, let's talk about it.
Well, why don't we let you go ahead and start, because this was your pick. So why did you pick it?
Well, I picked it just so that one, we could finish off the trilogy, talking about it on this podcast. And also, I kind of wanted to get an episode out relatively close to the release of the Batman on a Batman film. So thought it was cool. And then I hadn't seen it in a long time. It's been a while since I've even watched this original or this Nolan trilogy. So it was good to revisit it, and kind of wanted to talk about it because like this movie obviously gets, I wouldn't call it hate, but it certainly had its fair share of criticism. And of course, who's to blame Nolan? I mean, he's following one of the greatest movies of all time in The Dark Knight with with a third installment on this. And I think it has a lot of merit to it. I still think it's a fun movie. It's not better than the first two in the trilogy, but it's certainly a good popcorn flick, good to watch. So yeah.
All right, Jay, why don't you go ahead?
All right. Well, I'll start this with, there's two movies in trilogies that I watched in the theater. The third one, and I never watched them again. This was the second one. The other one was the third Star Wars film and the prequel trilogy. I've had similar emotions to both. I just didn't care for them when they came out. So I was really skeptical watching this one. Some of the same problems existed, I think, now that did then. The timeline on it is just really wonky. How long it would take for some of the events to take place just aren't really very well shown. That time lapse of him like taking Bruce Wayne halfway around the world and dumping him and then coming back and forth, and some of those timelines just didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. So I just struggled with that. I struggled with the final scene with Bane. I felt like it wasn't an easy way out, instead of allowing us to see what we wanted to see, I think. And I'm trying to dance around what happens if anyone hasn't seen it. But
which he's doing a very good job, because Jason feels very strongly about this particular scene.
Yeah, if you're just listening to us, he is on his tiptoes dancing right now.
Yeah. I'm on my soapbox fully, yes. So it just, there's some issues. And I think that's why it was a lot of criticism when it came out. And I don't know that that's softened. I wish that there existed like maybe a director's cut that fixed some of this. I think it was fixable. Now I will say there's a few scenes that are just incredible. There's a scene where Bane steps out into a stadium, and I love that scene. I really showed his willingness that nothing was going to stand in his way of going where he wanted to go. So yeah, I would say it's the weakest of the three on this trilogy. I don't know
100%.
that anyone's arguing that. Yeah, I guess I'm not really sure why Catwoman needed a role in this, other than it put a female character in a latex suit, I guess. I don't know.
I can't fight that one. I mean, yeah.
There's been stories within the comics where Selena Kyle is the path to kind of family life in Batman and Bruce Wayne's life. So kind of makes a little
And-
sense.
Yep, never quite
But-
sure whether she's the hero or the villain in this
Yeah.
telling. Yeah.
Mhm.
Which is fine. That's the great thing about Catwoman, and she can be both.
Mhm.
So that doesn't really bother me. It's just then use her that way, I guess, in a way that makes sense in the story, other than it just being like, here's a kind of parallel story running alongside that could be there, but you could also just as easily not have it there.
Yeah.
So I guess that was me saying what Mike expected me to say. I watched it with my son this time. He's a huge Bane fan. Bane is probably his favorite villain of all time.
Really?
And I think he liked the Bane better in the George Clooney Batman, the more goofy Bane. Yeah,
More comic book version.
yeah.
Well,
and
old comic book version.
so, yeah, it's not terrible, but it just didn't live up to the other three, or the other two, which were set some really high standards.
It really did. I mean, like I said, to follow the Dark Knight is almost suicide, in that particular instance. So
It was a semi-poor choice of words, but
yes,
with those circumstances around Heath Ledger as well, elevated that movie to a different, just whole realm of where it sits in fandom. So you have that. I have still not shown that film to my son. He's 11, because it's just too dark.
yeah, I don't think you should.
I'm not sure he's
Not
ready for
yet.
that. Now, this film I didn't feel was quite as dark in the same way
Mhm.
as that film.
That is true.
So go ahead,
All right.
Sean.
Well, I waited to be the last one because I figured that I was going to be the middle ground between the two of you. Overall, my feelings on this movie are kind of a blah. To me, it's just a movie. It's an okay movie.
Mhm.
There are certainly moments in it that I enjoy. The best parts of the movie are the fantastic casting. Michael Caine as Alfred, he's just nails it.
Mhm.
And a reduced role a little bit in this one with Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox. Fantastic. But yeah, I have some qualms with the overall story a little bit, but I think Jason kind of hit it on the head for me. Is kind of what kind of feels like unnecessary timeline gaps, and specifically Bane's plan and how it takes so long to actually come to. And I don't think it's a superhero movie, it's a comic book movie, we're suspending our disbelief, but they're trying to go for this more realistic approach. And I don't really think that they would just be like, well, let him do his thing, back off, and it was just it left it kind of a sour taste in my mouth. I do agree with Jason that Catwoman was perhaps not a necessary character in this. However, I'm never going to argue Anne Hathaway in a movie. So, I mean, there's that. Sorry.
Especially one in latex.
Sorry, not sorry. Let's go with that. But and I actually have perhaps the very unpopular opinion that the movie started at the high note and we're slipping from there. Because I think the first movie, the first in the Nolan trilogy, was actually better than, yes, including Heath Ledger's Joker. It was a good performance, but I still think, we started and then did kind of that little thing right there. And I know
You're in the minority for me.
I am in the minority, and I won't deny, Heath Ledger's performance, but that's not what we're talking about here today. So overall, for me, it was just I think perhaps Jason hit it best. With the two movies before it, I think I was expecting more for the end of the trilogy. Um, and there were certainly fantastic moments, and there's a couple of just what moments. Um, and I think because of the timeline and everything like that, I think the movie kind of loses some steam in spots. Um, and I think maybe that's kind of why, um, despite being overall kind of a well thought of movie, I think some people just don't think of this one as highly. And I think
Mhm.
that's perhaps why. Um, so yeah, to me, it was kind of like a, okay, all right. It was an okay movie. I'm never gonna be like, oh, it was awesome, fantastic, recommend to everyone. But I'm also like, I'm not sad that
Yeah.
this movie exists and that I watched it. It's a decent flick. I've watched far worse movies, sometimes for this podcast.
Like a Rocky
So
Horror Picture Show.
oh, you're gonna get me in a lot of
Don't say
trouble,
that
buddy.
too loud.
But yeah, it's an okay movie. I
Yeah.
honestly, if I really had to throw the stamp on here, whether or not it was a classic, I would say no. But it is an all right movie. It's ending the Christopher Nolan storyline, so I'm all right with that. But if I had to say if it was a classic or not, I would probably go to no.
Yeah. I think for me, like I think of this movie in context, and there's two contexts for me personally. The first one is that its immediate context is coming after what I believe is one of the greatest superhero movies of all time, Dark Knight. So it has a lot to live up to. The other context is that I watched the Batman last week, and going from what I think is a 10 out of 10 Batman movie and going to this movie, you see where the writing and the choice of setting was kind of off in the Dark Knight Rises. Like I'll use this for an example. My friend put it this way: is that Superman and Batman are antithesis of each other. Superman is hope in the light, hope in the sun, and Batman is hope from darkness. And the whole third act of the movie happens in the bright light. Batman would never get into like a massive like 50 million people brawl. Like it's just not like how Batman is usually written unless he's like fighting with the Justice League. So like even that is kind of like taking Batman out of his own element in
Yeah.
a sense. And just like and I harken back to not only recency bias, but the Batman, but also the animated series as well. Like what works for Batman is the darkness and the hope from the darkness, but also his detective skills. And you have slim to none of that within this movie. You have a lot more of that in the Dark Knight. You have less of that, less of Dark Knight, less of the detective in Batman Begins. But here you virtually have nothing. And this movie doesn't necessarily play to Batman's strengths. With that being said though, like the bat, like I love those scenes. I love that new technology, that new airplane. I loved it. I love the beginning of this movie, just like it starts off with Bane taking over a plane, like like that was fun. There's
Well,
there's
that's a
fun
great scene. That is a good scene.
there's
I'm not going
fun
to fight you
scenes in
there.
this movie. But I would almost I would say it's a classic trilogy. It's not a classic movie. Um, so I agree with you, Sean, in the sense of classic. But I still had fun watching it. It's about having fun, right?
No, and I won't fight you. It's a fun movie. And it's got certain moments. Um, it has moments of greatness and it has moments of great flaw. And I think that's fair to say about this movie, whether you're looking at it from just a movie standpoint or from a character standpoint.
Mhm.
I do have to mention this because my fiance did want me to say one thing, and she said what they did to the Batmobile was an abomination. But she had strong feelings on that, and now that I've gotten that in, I'm good to go now.
So like the Tumblr and all of them, she didn't like, or
no, she wasn't a big fan of the Tumblr period, but the I believe the separating down was more what she was referencing. But to be fair, she has strong feelings on the Batman. So
also, the Batman has the best Batmobile, in my opinion, of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for royalties for how many times you've mentioned that.
Please send it to WB, man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not going to be the one that's going to defend it at this point, because I think the two of you have come to a pretty good consensus. I had completely forgotten about the airplane scene from the time I had watched it 10 years ago till now. So when that scene came on, I was like, what is this? And then when I realized what it was again, it's a really well filmed scene, and really establishes who Bane is. Like, he's not just a brute in this film. He is a very calculating, intelligent, strategic in how he goes about things, and it's methodical. And I think that the methodical piece does fit Bane just fine, because there's kind of an arrogance about him of like, I don't really care. This can take me a few weeks to do, or I'll get to it when I get to it, because you can't stop me. The other scene that really I appreciated was there were some people trying to cross a bridge to get out of the city, and the people guarding the bridge were told that if anyone crossed, that they would blow the bridge and kill people. So they held their ground, and that scene was just, it shocks you a bit, because it's not how you're expecting them to give in, and they didn't. I still, again, with some of the time frames and some of the material that they pulled from, there is a very famous comic book cover with Bane holding Batman above his head. That scene kind of takes place in this movie. I have not read that particular comic book, so I don't know how true they were to that story. But again, it just really bogged down the timeline. I felt like they pushed to get the story in there, but didn't really realize that telling it in a comic book is different than telling it on a screen, and getting that to flow in a way that makes sense was really challenging. And I'm not really sure. I think you guys are probably aware of the scene I'm talking about. There's a scene where Batman's in Bruce Wayne really is in a really bad spot. And somehow he overcomes a physical challenge that only one other person had. And I'm not really sure what made him so special, considering how broken he was, to be able to do that, to be the second person to achieve that. So again, yeah, Bruce Wayne is pretty miraculous in who he is, but he was also pretty broken. So I struggled with, I like this. I think the scene plays out well, but I wish they would have explained what made him that much better.
Yeah.
That's fair. All right. I think we all agree, on its own merit, probably not a classic, but if we're lumping it in with the trilogy, we'll call it a classic trilogy.
Sounds good.
Sure.
All right.
That'll have us moving on to movies coming out in April. So right off the bat, April 1st, finally we get Morbius. We've talked about this before, that it had been delayed. Well, we talked about the movie, then it was delayed, and now we're talking about it again. So April 1st, you'll finally get to see Morbius. It is actually getting a little bit of promotion now.
Yes.
Something that I was highly worried about the last time I talked about it, when there had been no promotion of it. So
I think they knew that it was going to get pushed back, so they didn't want to hype it and then have people upset when it got pushed back.
Also, April 1st, The Contractor is rated R for violence and language. After being involuntarily discharged from the U.S. Special Forces, James Harper decides to support his family by joining a private contracting organization alongside his best friend and under the command of a fellow veteran. Overseas on a covert mission, Harper must evade those trying to kill him while making his way back home. It does star Chris Pine, Ben Foster, and Kiefer Sutherland.
I mean, I hate to use the word, but cookie cutter action movie with a little bit of heart tugging in there kind of seems like what this one is.
I've been pretty pleased with most everything Chris Pine has done, so I think I'm willing to give it a chance.
I have nothing against Chris Pine, but from what I've seen on the trailer, I'm certainly not going out to the theater for this one.
There's not many films that get me to theaters nowadays. I am very patient to wait for it to get to a streaming service.
That's one thing that perhaps, the good old pandemic has taught us is like, hey, maybe we don't need to go directly there.
Also, April 1st, You Won't Be Alone is R for violence and gore, sexual content, graphic nudity, and sexual assault. Set in an isolated mountain village in 19th century Macedonia, You Won't Be Alone follows a young girl who is kidnapped and then transformed into a witch by an ancient spirit. Curious about life as a human, the young witch accidentally kills a peasant in a nearby village and then takes her victim's shape to live life in her skin. Her curiosity ignited, she continues to wield this horrific power in order to understand what it means to be human.
It looks creepy. I'll give it that.
Very creepy. Imagine getting stolen and turned into a witch. Like, who comes up with these movies?
Oh, this one seems right up your alley, though.
I mean, midnight release with me.
It kind of felt like there was two stories there, right? The kidnapping story and then the witch story. I mean, it felt like, how did you get from there to there? It felt like from point A to point B was one story, and then it just decided to go the opposite direction to point C. But
it seemed like they went from B to Z.
Sure. April 8th is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. After settling in Green Hills, Sonic is eager to prove he has what it takes to be a true hero. His test comes when Dr. Robotnik returns, this time with a new partner, Knuckles, in search for an emerald that has the power to destroy civilization. It is directed by Jeff Fowler, who directed the first one and is also developing a Pink Panther movie.
Okay, so two things real quick on this movie. First off, Sonic was far better than it had a right to be. I really enjoyed Sonic, and I wasn't sure I was going to, but I really did enjoy it.
I'm in the middle of it. I got to finish it up.
Two, they made the movie poster for this as physically possible that they got the cover for Sonic 2, the video game.
Mm-hmm.
Holy moly. You
yeah, they did a really good
job.
job.
It's fantastic.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
they
like,
did a really good job.
Someone understood the assignment.
That was their tweet.
Really?
The official announcement tweet was literally, "We understood the assignment," and then it was the poster. And everybody's been praising it for sure.
Oh man,
nothing like embracing your past.
It's just.
Have you seen the poster,
what you
Jay?
got?
What's that?
Have you seen the poster?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I saw the tweet and I was like, "That's awesome."
Oh, damn. Things I missed by not having Twitter.
Yeah, you live a little bit longer now that you don't have Twitter, so you're good.
I also thought that the first one was better than I could have imagined.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
We watched it while we were road tripping from where we're at, about 1,800 miles away one of the nights when we stopped, we watched this just as a needing to do something besides stare at a road. So it was
a chill down and relax movie.
Yeah. April 13th, Father Stew, R for language throughout. Based on the true story, Father Stew is an unflinching, honest, funny, and ultimately uplifting drama about a lost soul who finds his purpose in the most unexpected place. That is such a thorough and descriptive synopsis. Does star Mark Wahlberg and Mel Gibson.
Yeah, hard pass on this movie. I don't want to see this.
Yep, me either.
We agree on some things.
Every now and again it happens.
It does happen.
April 15th, Fantastic Beasts, The Secret of Dumbledore. This has been pumped in every way it can directly to your brain, so I didn't feel I needed to read a synopsis.
Fair.
So
I actually have an IV in me right now.
yeah. Well, I'm glad they found medical ways to fulfill your DNA with this movie.
He's got the Hogwarts drip.
Yeah.
It looks good. I'm sure if you've been following the Fantastic Beasts series, you're certainly going to be lined up as early as you can to get in to see this.
Indeed.
I mean, I think this one I'll wait for, even though I really want to see it because I've liked the first two so far. So yeah, I know obviously everything happened with Johnny Depp and all that, but like I really liked him as Grindelwald, so it'll be interesting with the switch to Matt Mikkelsen, right? What's his name? Or is that one of his characters in the movie? Because that sounds like a villain.
April 22nd, The Bad Guys. Never have there been 5 friends as infamous as the bad guys. Dashing pickpocket, Mr. Wolf. Seen it all, safecracker, Mr. Snake. Chill master of disguise, Mr. Shark. Short fused muscle, Mr. Piranha. And sharp tongue expert hacker, Mr. Tarantula, aka Webbs. But when after years of countless heists and being the world's most wanted villains, the gang is finally caught. Mr. Wolf brokers a deal that he has no intentions of keeping to save them all from prison. The Bad Guys Will Go Good. Is based on the Scholastic book series by Aaron Blabey. I'll just start this off by saying my son can't wait for this.
It actually looks pretty good. I saw this and was kind of looking forward to it.
So yeah, it feels like an animated film that will be pretty fun to watch. The characters all seem pretty interesting, and it'll be really, I'm looking forward to seeing how they play out and then how the story plays out.
Yeah, it feels like there's a little Zootopia kind of sprinkled on the top of this one. And I did enjoy that one. So this one I like what they're going with, and that's perhaps one of my favorite character types is the quote unquote villain who is trying their best to be a hero. I've always enjoyed that particular story. So I am looking forward to this one. I think it's going to do well. And if you're looking for a kids movie, is there any real competition for this? I don't think so.
No. The Northman on April 22nd, an action-filled epic that follows a young Viking prince on his quest to avenge his father's murder. Stars Alexander Skarsgård, Ethan Hawke, Nicole Kidman, and William Dafoe. Yeah,
but watching the trailer for this, you're not entirely sure what's going on, besides that there's some angry people. And I mean, I realize I just described half of Norse mythology, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to hunt down some more trailers when this gets a little closer.
And finally, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, April 22nd. Now this is going to be my sleeper pick. Really is. Nicolas Cage stars
Get in the
as
cage.
Nicolas Cage in an action comedy, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Creatively unfulfilled and facing financial ruin, the fictionalized version of Cage must accept a $1 million offer to attend the birthday of a dangerous superfan. Things take a wildly unexpected turn when Cage is recruited by a CIA operative and forced to live up to his own legend, channeling his most iconic and beloved on-screen characters in order to save himself and his loved ones. Stars Nicolas Cage and Tiffany Haddish.
Oh my gosh, Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
I am so excited for this. I want to see this. I'm probably going to end up in the theater watching this. You've
Like,
got to be kidding. With
you
any other
can't-
actor, this wouldn't work.
You can't get more Cage than this. Like, it's
With
just
anybody else, it wouldn't work. But Nicolas Cage, and I'm like, yes,
It's
yes.
current- guys, 21 reviews. It's not a lot, but 21 reviews. This is currently sitting at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like we're talking box office right here.
Well, you're looking for a fresh idea. Let's just stop making a script and just let Nicolas Cage be Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage.
The concept is brilliant, and it's just so.
absolutely brilliant.
And again, it's brilliant because it's Nicolas Cage, and
Yeah,
and his. I don't know. I mean, just being a good enough actor to pull this off is going to take some talent. But for him to pull off himself, no one else could do that. And keep it
no,
interesting.
I mean, Andy Samberg can pull off a decently good Nicolas Cage.
Get in the cage, yeah.
Get in the cage.
That's high praise.
How am I not in that movie?
Again,
no.
though, that that we haven't heard a lot about this, so hopefully they start that promotion wagon here pretty soon. Because
I mean, to be fair, when's the last time you have heard of a Nicolas Cage movie? Like I mean, half the time he just shows up.
it feels like the movie you didn't know you needed until you heard about it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I read somewhere online that they should almost make a new genre. Like you have fantasy, you've got horror, and then you've got Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is his own genre, and I'm for it. Because when you get into a Nicolas Cage movie, you're never entirely sure what you're gonna get, but you're gonna get Nicolas Cage.
You're gonna get the cage.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Movie.
This one is my favorite of the month by far, by leaps and bounds.
Oh, that's funny.
I would put this at my 3. I would pick Northman as my 2 and Bad Guys as my 1.
See, this one is my number 1 by far. Bad Guys is my number 2, and that's probably about where my list stops.
I would do Fantastic Beasts, not Fathers too. I think Sonic. I think Sonic's
would
gonna
be my
be.
3.
I
Yeah.
think Sonic's gonna be my 1 actually, just because even though I haven't seen the first one, I just love all the marketing that they're doing. Like it's all perfect for me. Then I'll do Fantastic Beasts as my 3rd, and then I'll do the Cage movie as my 2nd.
Oh, it's gotta be so good.
Now that
And
you
that's the
said that,
beautiful
it's,
thing. If it's awful, it's still gonna be so good.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. It will. I mean, if it is awful, it will follow the trajectory of Nicolas Cage films, and it would be the most meta and self-aware film of all time.
Oh man, yeah. Anyway, Jay, continue with the podcast, and I'll stop spewing.
we're on to DVDs, so you continue the podcast, sir.
Oh,
You've
All right.
been derailed. Consider
Oh.
it done.
And I misspoke. Streaming media or home video. Please
Ooh.
carry on.
Our home releases.
There you go.
home releases, starting off our month here, releasing on April 5th is Scream, the reboot to that classic there. Getting some mixed reviews on that.
It's so good.
Yeah,
It's
I did
so
not get
good.
to see it.
I love it.
Okay.
Do you want my Paramount Plus login? Like, you can watch it.
Oh,
Go
whoa,
ahead.
whoa! I've actually got my own. I showed Ashley Picard last year when it was available.
All right.
And
Well,
so-
it's already on Paramount Plus, so watch it.
okay.
And so are all the Scream movies, by the way.
I did enjoy the Scream series.
Mike, can you explain why they couldn't have come up with a little bit better title?
Seriously.
Because they wanted all the internet memes calling it 5 Cream Scream, just like, I don't know. Well, they did the thing that Halloween did. Halloween remade, made a 2018 movie, but it was a sequel. And so this is a sequel. It's called a requel, they call it, and it's a rebooted sequel. So yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like
the
it with
movie can be
Hollow.
fantastic, but I disagree with that.
The movie is awesome. I loved it. So
All right.
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you this. Have you guys seen the new Matrix?
Yes, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So the new Scream did what the new Matrix was trying to do. Be completely self-aware of itself, be a meta film, but actually do it good is what Scream did.
All right. Next up, we've got Jockey. And I don't remember if we talked about this, but I have the rundown here. A horse jockey past his prime continues to fight to hold on to his career. As his body starts to give way to the wear and tear of the years, he contemplates a future that doesn't include racing. He is forced to face the reality that his career is almost over, and he rethinks his past life choices and tries to figure out if he is no longer just a jockey. We have The Immortal, which, again, I don't remember if we talked about this. No one really known in it. Infamous mobster is facing death yet again. His body is trapped in the Gulf of Naples. As he slowly descends into darkness, he recounts memories of his past flashing through his mind. Okay. And of course, the big one coming out on April 12th, we've got Spider-Man No Way Home. Woo woo. Oh my gosh. If
It's
you haven't
available
seen it,
digitally already. If you would like,
it is
to
available
purchase it.
digitally, but man, I'm gonna own that the day it comes out. It was so good. Everyone saw it, yes? No, yes. Okay, I was getting a little worried there.
No, trust me, I was not going long without seeing that with spoilers, and
Yeah, I I brought my fiance, back to the theater, and she may never go again because of the people around us during this movie. So fun times there.
that movie was phenomenal. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
so good, so good. And that is really the only movie of any note coming out that week. I mean, I wouldn't want to go against that either. Coming out Tuesday, April 19th. Of course, they're all Tuesdays, but Jackass Forever, which a lot of people were enjoying. I wasn't sure that, some 20 years after we were still able to do a Jackass movie. Turns out, yeah, we can. Cyrano, starring Peter Dinklage, also released. Excuse me. One that Jason always likes to pick on here a little bit, VHS 94 coming out, which, and April 26th, we've got Moonfall, which I don't know if you guys remember this at all. It didn't review that great, but
No, wasn't that the Halle Berry one?
yes, you are thinking of it. I had some decent people in it: Halle Berry, Patrick Wilson, John Bradley. The moon seems to no longer be able to maintain its orbit around Earth. The former NASA astronaut and a current executive believe that they might be the world's only hope to solve the mystery with weeks left before the annihilation of our planet. So I'll be honest, though, I did want to see it, but seeing some of the reviews come through for it, maybe not. We also have Expired releasing that same day. No real names attached to it, but it's basically the tale of
Sean, there's real names. There's just no like high
there's no
profile names.
known names.
Respect the
It's following
actors.
a futuristic Hong Kong assassin. And then we have got Super Intelligence, which again didn't review that great, with Melissa McCarthy and James Gordon, and basically trying to get back her ex-boyfriend. So, I mean, it is what it is. But anyway, that I'm sorry to say, besides a few shining ones in there, that's your list for home releases. But we did get Spider-Man No Way Home, so it can't be all bad.
All right. Well, let's move on to video games.
Video games, here we come. We are looking at Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach coming to the PlayStation game consoles and PC on April 1st.
Which I'm still
Guys-
impressed they're churning those out. I
Oh,
would have
yeah.
figured, a couple and they'd be done, but evidently people go
Mhm.
nuts for them.
A game that has been what seems like forever to release is Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, coming to all the things, Switch, even PC. Yeah, really kind of looking forward to this one just because of a couple things. You could put on mumble mode again, so to go back to like the original like style of Lego games where they don't talk. And then also they've also added, talking to the original Saga, which they didn't have originally. So kind of a couple ways to play it, and yeah, got the whole Skywalker stuff going on.
It really slowed down on those games. They used to come out with
Yeah.
3 or 4 a year, and now it's
Yeah.
down to 1, maybe
Yeah.
2.
Well, I wonder if they figured that they were kind of oversaturating their own market a little bit.
Except I think the last one that came out was DC Villains, and that's been a long time
Wow.
ago.
That
I
has
think-
been a while, yeah.
I think they even though like the first 6 Skywalker movies were already made, like I think they rebuilt every single game. So I mean that probably took them a while. I also heard that what's their name? Traveler's Tales, the game developer, they're not doing too hot with like crunch and stuff like that. So
Mm.
I don't know, maybe some development issues as well. But
So is-
regardless, we're still getting it.
So is this not a new game? This is just a remake of the Star Wars game that's already out?
This is a completely new game in
Okay.
the sense of it has all 9 films. I'm not sure if it has Rogue One, but it will have all 9 films for sure. And every single Star Wars is built from the ground up. So it's not necessarily like an up-resed version of the original 6 that they had already made. It is a completely new game.
Awesome.
That's cool.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. Mhm.
I
All
sense
right.
you and your son playing that a bit.
Probably.
Maybe. And then you'll have to stop Jay when he goes to bed, because MLB The Show 22 comes out that same day. So it comes straight to Game Pass as well for Game Pass subscribers, but it does come to all the things, including Switch. So good luck, Switch owners. I'm not sure it will run. Your Switch might break. Who knows? But anyway.
To be honest, I haven't yet tired of last year's, so I'm not sure I need an upgrade at this point.
Nice.
Well, subscribe to Game Pass for 1 month and then bam. And maybe just try it out. Who knows? Anyway, Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamers edition, which is they kind of made it into that like 2D, 3D art style, like Octopath Traveler or like the HD 2D ones. And yeah, that's coming to all the things April 7th.
I know a lot of people that are Chrono Cross fans.
Yeah, a lot of people are really, really excited for that. The Ultimate Edition of Godfall comes out on all the things. This game has been out for a really, really long time. It's kind of like it's a service game. It's kind of Destiny-like third-person action game. But this is the first time that it will be on the Xbox consoles. So it's been a PlayStation exclusive. Something that I'm actually pretty excited for coming out April 7th, the House of the Dead remake, and it is a Switch exclusive. But this is the original arcade game.
The
shooter, the light gun game being remade for the Switch. And obviously Switch is the only console that it makes sense because it has the motion controls with the controller. So yeah.
My son will be excited. We played it at the arcade quite a bit.
Yeah, it's an amazing arcade game. So, all right, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim comes out for the Switch April 12th. Road 96 comes out to the PlayStation consoles and the Xbox consoles. I don't know what that one is. It's an action adventure game. I'll have to get back to you on the next podcast. And then 3 Switch releases to round out the month. April 20th, Switch gets Star Wars The Force Unleashed. I believe it's just the first one. I don't think it's a collection. Zombie Army 4 Dead War comes to the Switch on April 26th. And Nintendo Switch Sports comes out to Switch on April 29th, which is a successor to Wii Sports.
Nice.
So,
dude.
So yeah, that's going to sell a lot of Switches, for sure.
So. I remember just the multitude of people who just had like the Wii and they thought that Wii Sports was the only game.
Yeah.
So it's going to be nuts.
But yeah, I mean, has a couple new games. I believe it has table tennis, and they're going to be adding golf.
Table tennis wasn't new.
Oh, it wasn't? Okay, I forget which ones are new.
And golf wasn't new either.
No, golf is. I didn't finish my sentence.
Okay.
Golf is coming later. It's not coming in the release. But
I probably misspoke because there was 2 versions of Wii Sports. In the second version, table tennis was a part of that.
Yeah, so there was the Wii Sports Resort.
Right.
Is that second one. But yeah, basically it's going to, this iteration adds soccer, volleyball, and badminton. If you buy a physical version of the Nintendo Switch Sports, you also receive a leg strap accessory that allows your Joy-Con to track your leg, which is how you use soccer, how you play soccer. So
sweet.
Yeah.
Well,
that's video games. That's all.
Oh, okay. We were waiting.
Nope, that's all.
That Switch version of Wii Sports sounds pretty awesome. So
yeah,
and to be honest, Force Awakens was a great game. So I had a sore arm a couple times playing that game. So
with all the button mashing.
Yeah, it's the motion on the Wii.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Star Wars. For a second, I was like,
Force Awakens came out on the Wii. And you used the motion controller.
The Force Unleashed. And by the way, this is just the Wii version. Okay. So I don't know why they did that, especially since you could just use the 360 version on the Switch. And so yeah, I don't know. anyway, I'm looking forward to MLB The Show, and then probably Lego Star Wars. So yeah, some good stuff. But I'm too busy with current stuff as well. So
Well, that'll take us right into what have we been up to lately, and mine's pretty short. I read Six Target by James Patterson, continuing his women's murder mystery club. They've leveled off in quality, so I'm curious if that's just become a way for them to make money and churn out books pretty fast at this point. But I'll read a few more and see where it goes. I've continued playing. I'm about halfway through Assassin's Creed, the first one, and kind of deep diving. Mike, I'm not sure if you were part of the podcast where I said I was deep diving into the Assassin's Creed, the first one, because I kind of skipped right over that one and went to Black Flag.
oh wow.
So I've
You
gone back.
You missed some of the best of the series.
So I'm going back.
Whoa. Anyway.
So
Assassin's Creed 2 is legitimately one of my favorite games of all time. And yeah.
All right.
I didn't mean to start a debate. So I'm
Brother,
deep diving into that. I'm about halfway through. It's pretty incredible what they pulled off with the technology back then on this game. Mm-hmm. And it does have some glitchy moments when you're trying to climb or move, but for the overall, it's pretty well developed, and they really did a great job with that for it being the first. So yeah, I hope I can get through that in a timely manner so I can get on to 2, but I have taken on a deep dive into this. So
2 is better in every single way.
I won't fight you there.
1. Mm-hmm.
Well, and 1 is pretty amazing. So
and 1's great.
So that's it for me.
All right. As far as reading, I just finished XCOM 2 Escalation, which is a prequel novel to the XCOM 2 video game, which I'm a pretty big fan of that series there.
You killed me.
You killed you, man. Someone decided to run into sniper fire.
Somebody was pressing the buttons, though.
So yeah, that's been have been doing a bit of other reading, some game rule books. I did just get the new Jim Butcher graphic novel Bigfoot, tore through that. So, and as far as movies, I have actually been watching a fair amount of the Elvira movies, which evidently I'm amused by to no end. I did finish off the Witcher series, and I know I'm a little bit behind on that, but did finish that off, enjoyed that. And now I am catching up on Young Justice because I really enjoyed that when it was on the air, and then it moved to HBO. And I was unable to watch season 3 and 4. So right now I am near the tail end of season 3. And as far as video games, I actually kicked back up XCOM because after reading the novel, I wanted to play it again. Otherwise, playing some Sentinels of Freedom, which is the Sentinels of the Multiverse game on the PC.
There you go.
Go ahead, Mike.
I am currently in the midst of reading the Chip Zdarsky run of Daredevil, which is the current run, and it is excellent. I would recommend it highly. Daredevil is my favorite superhero, so it may come off as biased, but please don't take it that way. It is actually incredible writing. And yeah, I think it's one of the best runs of Daredevil I've ever read. So would definitely recommend that. And kids, check out your local library. There's a lot of graphic novels and amazing comic books that you could read through that. So
absolutely.
I'm also picking up the Half-Blood Prince, so the 6th Harry Potter book. Never finished the series, so picking that back up, hopefully get that done. And then video games wise, I'm playing what's called the Outer Wilds, not the Outer Worlds, the
Oh.
Outer Wilds. And it's this fun little space adventure game that you are stuck in a time loop, and you're trying to find basically the center of the universe, the creator of the universe, the eye, they call it, the eye of the universe. So yeah, that game is wonderful. It looks amazing on my huge 4K TV. And it's just so fun. If you get past and learn the flying controls, it is totally worth it. Totally worth it. Flying controls are really hard, so you got to get past it. And then other than that, movies and TV shows wise, I started the I think it's called Winning Time or whatever. It's this dramatization of the Lakers during Magic Johnson's rookie season on. So I started that. Haven't gotten done with the first episode, but yeah, just started. It was okay so far. And then besides like watching Scream 5 and then the Batman recently, I haven't been doing much watching. So yeah.
All right. Well, until next time.
Good night, everybody.
Adios.